It's just pure escapism. That, for me, it's the perfect antidote to normal everyday life. The quote that Gas Fairham used in the first Subsurface was, "It's good to have an end to a journey, but it's the journey that matters in the end." You're always glad when a journey comes to an end because you don't have to go through all that hardship anymore. You know, everyone knows that when you're fishing for these sort of fish. But when the dust has settled and you've calmed down, you hunger after it and you want to go and get it again. I have got into this kind of pattern of fishing for fish that aren't caught, and I think the challenge of finding those particular fish is almost as much as the fishing for me. It's a bit like trying to get a rare book. I used to collect books. I've got a lot of hardbacks now, but don't collect leathers anymore. It's just something I prefer. You know, I like the wild aspect of the unknown and not ever knowing what you're going to catch. I think that's why I fished the Thames for a long time and still do. Is you just never know what's going to be on the other end, and it's just I just love the adventure and the not knowing. I mean, I think fishing for rivers for years, you get a unique kind of sense of being alone, and to the point where, particularly on the Midlands rivers, which were miles of countryside, you wouldn't see anybody, and that's made it very difficult in carp fishing terms for me now, because if I see another angler on a water, I feel like I'm being encroached. Even though at the moment it's like 25 acres or whatever, and there's only 3 of us on here, I still feel like I haven't got it to myself anymore, and that doesn't feel as nice. It's a bit selfish really, but... Then usually I like to sort of be in a spot where I can see a lot of the lake, or, you know, a spot that's going to get a lot of the sun if it's in the spring. But also, you know, a lot of these waters the last couple of years is a spot where I'm not going to get seen. So, you know, I mean, definitely when I was fishing the Mere, I was hiding better than I was fishing to start with, no question of that. And in the end, I just had to accept the fact that I decided to fish there, and if I got caught, I got caught. And I fished a lot better for it, and I had to fish very quickly, you know. It was just one of those things, you just kind of get that kind of mindset before you fish a water like that, and you've got it in your head that if you put your finger out from behind a tree, you're going to get an £800 fine. Generally speaking, I'm not a rig person, and I think that generally speaking the fish, again, the type of carp that I fish for, if it goes, it goes, you know. I've only ever really fished one water where fish were very sensitive to rigs, and that was the Carp Lake, and I think I overbanked it on there. I got totally caught up in the, you know, sensitive this, sensitive that, critically balancing, you know, flattening leads, gluing the lake bottom to the ledge, you know, and I think all those things were positive, but I ended up chasing my tail. I think if I'd have just stuck to our fish, you know, and just concentrated on the watercraft side of it, then I think things would have been a little bit different. I've had some interesting sort of feedback from a few good anglers about this lake now. It's got a lot of stock fishing, trying to get through them. I've been using massive great big hook baits. I'll show you some of those hook baits shortly. And they were saying that, you know, because you're competing against the stockfish now, just by logistics, if you've got a really great big massive fish, if you use something really blatant like an 18mm pop-up or something like that on quite a big stiff rig, those little fish won't go near it because it will be so obviously wrong. Whereas if a 40 or 50 pound fish comes in, it just literally by the size of it, it won't make that recognition, and you'll probably catch it. It's a really interesting thought process, and you know, it stands true for, you know, it was Terry Dempsey who was telling me this, and he was saying that there's people on the cons that catch the biggest fish in the lake, and yet they don't catch many. So, you know, 20 pound, 30 pound fish will look at something really sort of obtrusive and horrible like that and just won't go near it, and then they get one bite a year and it's 55 pound, you know, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I haven't had the guts to use it yet, mine, but I think it would work, definitely. It just makes sense. I do find that the sort of the commercialisation of carp fishing has knocked out the spirit of it. I think it's made it banal. It certainly churns out the same thing on a monthly basis. And as I say, that's fine if you're into that, but why not offer something that's going to sort of not challenge your thinking as such, because it's not meant to be an intellectual stance on things at all, you know, it's just an alternative viewpoint, and to try and get some of the spirit back into it, and the adventure, and you know, the reason why we like to sit under trees and just be out there. You know, it's not really about holding fish or look at this, you know, there's an element of that because we all like that, but It's more about the sort of, you know, there's a lot of incidental photography in there, like kettles boiling and, you know, rods against ironwork and people fishing next to motorways and things like that. And it's more about the stories and the heart of it and the soul of it. And I think that's something that's gone. It just has, you know, it's become X Factor and not a variety of or different ways of thinking and doing it. And I think that's, for me, that's what Subsurface is.